So good news on the Caitlyn Clark injury front. The Fever initially announced she would miss at least 2 weeks with a quad injury. And of course, at least two provides for the possibility of more. But Caitlyn Clark has said she has made good progress, opened up the possibility of returning for a game against the Atlanta Dream, which would be about 2 weeks out. Nonetheless, she said she wouldn't rush back, which is the expectation. The Fever don't want her to aggravate the injury and be on the shelf any longer or have their season upended. But nonetheless, the fact that she's talking about the return being in short order has to be great and gratifying news, not only for Fever fans, but for the WNBA as well, as everyone wants to see Caitlyn Clark back on the court at 100%. So here is some of what CC said to the media today in regards to her injury and the update on her status. This was the status update itself.
Yeah, I'll be reevaluated this weekend, so I'll miss this weekend's game. But after that, it's, day by day and see how I feel and just kind of turn to the medical staff and what they think. But I feel like I've made a lot of progress and I feel good, and, I'm not going to rush coming back. It's just not worth it. But after this weekend, I'll be reevaluated and we'll have a better idea of when I'll return.
So after the weekend reevaluated, she did also mention the possibility of coming back against the Dream. I think that's the exact word she used, was possibility. She talked about the injury itself and when it actually happened, when it actually went down.
Happened during a game or anything, or is it just something that was lingering that popped up? Or?
It happened in the Liberty game, yeah.
Were you able to pinpoint a time in the Liberty game that happened, or you just?
No, definitely early in the game, but I couldn't tell you the exact play something occurred on, and could have occurred over the course of the game too. And then obviously adrenaline covers up a lot of stuff when you're in the heat of battle. And after the game, I had some pain, and then got an MRI, and that kind of gave me the result that I didn't want to see. But those type of things don't lie. So yeah.
3 games in 5 days, I think, was the real issue with the Liberty game, by the way. I said that going in, and I said that coming out. Clearly Caitlyn Clark was dealing with an underlying issue there that could be re-aggravated or, aggravated in a different spot due to compensation. And, she never got to rest in the preseason because that one game was at Iowa. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind she doesn't play in that second preseason game if it wasn't at Iowa, so she never really got to rest going right into the season. Now she's gotten a chance to take it easy on that leg for a minute, and it seems like the recovery has come fast. That doesn't mean there weren't some struggles. Obviously, the Fever struggled a bit, and of course, Clark had to struggle with sitting on the sideline, which is not something she's accustomed to, given she has never really missed any time before.
Just in life itself, how patient are you?
Not a very patient person, no.
How is this kind of tested that?
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity to grow, right? Just try to approach it in the best way I can. It's certainly weird. I think at times the hardest part is just not being able to be involved in practice. I love practice. Not a ton of people always enjoy coming to practice every single day, but that's something I really enjoy. I really enjoy coming out here and competing every single day with my teammates. That's probably honestly what I miss most. Obviously, I miss the games. That goes for anybody that's ever hurt. But I love practice. I love getting better. So I think that's just kind of been the time for me to really find some patience. And I've never been a patient person my entire life. So this is definitely testing me a little bit. But I think it's going to be really good for me. And like I said, I've just tried to approach it in the best way I possibly can. I can't change it. And but yeah, I think my patience has definitely grown a lot. And like I said, just trying to grow and learn. And I think I've certainly done that.
I've never heard anybody talking about practice so glowingly before. The meme, we're talking about practice. Caitlyn Clark, a fan of practice, a fan of competing, obviously. But overall, I feel like if you're a Fever fan or again, if you're a WNBA fan, you should be breathing a sigh of relief about this news today. Clark did not come out and say she's going to be shelved a lot longer. She did not come out and say there's been a setback in the injury. She did not come out and say it's worse than initially feared. Any of those things. In fact, she opened up the possibility of playing on Tuesday, right? And you look at the schedule. I'll share it with you for a second just so you have an idea of what I'm talking about and getting at here as well. The Indiana Fever schedule, they are at Atlanta on that Tuesday. So she's missing the Chicago game, which we always knew, the primetime showdown. Then there's the Atlanta game on the 10th. which she said was a possibility. I'm going to say that's probably not going to happen, but it's up in the air. Then you've got the Liberty again, which seems a little poetic, and that would be the 14th. So my guess is that Caitlyn Clark is back either the 14th or the 17th. Probably I would put the favorite on the 14th right now against the Liberty, but I don't see her being out longer than the 17th against Connecticut based on what we just heard from her regarding the timeline, based on everything we know, based on seeing her move out and around the floor. But it should be treated with the abundance of caution. I mean, like Clark said, you're not going to rush her back. It's not worth it. And it's not worth it if, one, it could re-aggravate the injury and this could become a season-long thing. It's not worth it if it could lead to a compensation injury that keeps her on the shelf even longer, because that's what can happen when you're dealing with another injury. And this is not something that, whether or not this is the new injury or not, the semantics of it, clearly, there'd been an overuse issue with that leg, and she needed to get it right. But nonetheless, the Fever can beat the Sky without Caitlyn Clark, certainly capable of beating the Sky without Caitlyn Clark. In Atlanta, that's going to be a little bit tougher, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. But regardless, if they wind up going 2 and 3 in a span without Caitlyn Clark, I think you sign up for that if she is able to get back for the Liberty game. And again, the record is so much less relevant than her being back on the floor at 100%, doing her Caitlyn Clark thing. I think everybody kind of misses her a little bit when the offseason was so long and we didn't get to see her play ball. And so it was like, finally, the WNBA season is back. And then you get that jump scare of seeing what it would be like if she was hurt. But players get hurt, right? Like, this ain't going to be the first time she's hurt in her WNBA career. And in the grand scheme of things, this is a very, very minor injury, a very, very minor roadblock or setback for the Fever and the team's goals. But none of those come to fruition, obviously not breaking any news, without Caitlyn Clark on the floor. And the fact that she's talking about it, the fact that she's even floating the possibility of the Tuesday return against the Dream, and the fact that you can see, it's gearing up, right? That's the ultimate takeaway. The return from Caitlyn Clark is gearing up. And at that point, we can finally see the Fever go into full gear. I know you guys want to see Caitlyn Clark with the ball in her hands. I'm sure that'll happen as well. And maybe there is some positives she picked up along the way, and some positives that the Fever learned about their roster and, other players getting a little bit more of the responsibility so that can trickle down when it comes to crunch time, come playoff time.